Greetings. It's an honor to serve as editor-in-chief of Translational Behavioral Medicine. I've been involved with the journal since 2015, and I'm certainly passionate about translational research within the field of behavioral medicine. Over time, we've seen the development and elevation of translational research in behavioral medicine and public health. The field has matured with more behavioral intervention researchers developing a focus on translational science, including implementation science. So it's a great time to continue the discussion about what this means for our field, but also for the journal. The Translational Continuum is a useful model to guide how we think about translational research. The Translational Continuum was developed to guide the process of translating basic research discoveries to clinical applications, theoretically resulting in a population or a public health impact. Though developed in a bench-to-bedside context, Translational Continuum has direct relevance for behavioral medicine and public health research. We identify a behavioral medicine problem. We develop an intervention to make an impact on that problem. We test that intervention to see if it works. And then, particularly if it does, we translate that research evidence into practice, policy, and further research. For TBM, in order for research to be considered translational, there should be some explication of the research evidence that is being translated. Providing this context makes it clear the translational nature of the research, and it helps the reader identify generally where a study might fall along the translational continuum. Though the establishment of efficacy is part of the overall translational continuum and research process, studies like feasibility or efficacy trials constitute evidence development rather than research translation. And I think this distinction is in part what separates TBM from the broader field of behavioral medicine. Our journal fills a critical niche as the only journal of its kind with a mission around translational research specific to behavioral medicine. A few things for authors to consider when submitting to TBM. Be explicit about the translational nature of the research. What makes this translational rather than just behavioral medicine? Talk intentionally about the nature of the evidence being translated. Even consider referring to the area of the translational continuum that your study addresses, such as T3 or T4. We encourage folks working in implementation science, both within and outside of a clinical setting, including in community settings, to consider submitting to TBM. In addition, I would encourage translational researchers both in and outside of behavioral medicine to consider community-engaged approaches to inform and conduct their research. Given the journal's vision to lead the translation of behavioral science findings to improve patient and population health outcomes, a thoughtful and purposeful approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion is imperative. So we are quite interested in translational research that has a focus on or direct implications for health equity and embodies these values. Policy is also an important aspect of translational research. So papers that discuss research evidence informing policy are also of interest. If you'd like to learn more about submitting to our journal, please visit our Why Submit to TBM page on the journal website. And we look forward to reading your submissions.